Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky and I'm joined as always by the man who I would be straight on the Hogwarts Express to retrieve him if he was stolen by the English. It's Greg. How are you today, Greg?
I'm good. I've just literally just got back from a lot of travelling over the last 4 weeks, so I'm looking forward to just being at home for the foreseeable. But it's literally been planes, trains and automobiles since the last time I spoke to you in America and in Scotland.
It's been a bit mental because, I mean, our listeners probably wouldn't know, but, you know, effectively we banked a couple of episodes because I was going away and then, of course, you were going away. So we actually recorded our last 2 episodes in the same weekend, like back to back. So it's been like a month since we've properly recorded. So it's I was kind of setting everything up and being like, Jesus, do I remember how to do this?
Yeah.
It's been so long. But yeah, you've had an epic little adventure. Very much a 5-0 goes west type tale.
Yeah, I was in New York and then I was in Baltimore and then I was in Philadelphia. But something that I did this time in America that I've never done in my previous trips there was take the Amtrak train. Have you ever ridden the Amtrak?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Right. So it's actually it's not a horrible experience. The trains are quite nice. You know, it was fine, but I had a bit of a nightmare. So you and I have travelled together before, but it's been sort of stag do's and we've been a bit pissed and you know what I mean during the journey, and it's all been fairly stressless. But as I've got older, I'm not very good to travel with because I like to get there early. I like to know where I've got to go. I get a bit nippy when I'm travelling. I think my wife would probably say. And for whatever reason, it's always worse when I'm on the homeward leg of the travel. So because we had flown into New York, we had arranged to fly back out of New York because it's one flight to Dubai. So on the last day of our trip to America, our flight home to Dubai was at 11 p.m. So we got on the train at 3 o'clock in Philadelphia, allowing ample time to arrive in New York, kill a couple hours there and then go to the airport. So the first stop out of Philadelphia is Trenton, New Jersey, right? And the train stopped, and so the train stops there, and we get a wee message on the intercom to say, due to some fires on the tracks ahead, we're going to be waiting. We need to stop here just now, but the fire brigade are working on it. We'll keep you updated. So I thought, right, oh well. It means maybe we won't have to kill any time in New York. Maybe we'll just get off the train and get a taxi straight to the airport. But I wasn't concerned. My travelling companion wasn't concerned either. It's 6 o'clock. We're still sitting in the train station, and I'm getting emails from Amtrak saying your train is still in the station. I'm like, well, I fucking know that because I'm on the train. Do you know what I mean? We're going to keep you updated. So about 6:15, my travelling companion, who's also my boss, said, look, I think we need to get off this train and see if we can get an Uber to the airport because we couldn't miss this. If I had missed that flight, I would have risked missing my flight the next day from Dubai to Amsterdam to Scotland. So I couldn't miss it, right? So we get an Uber, which is a 90-mile trip for the Uber driver from Trenton to the airport. It costs $300. But anyway, we get to the airport, we get checked in, we get into the lounge. I mean, my nerves are fucking shredded, but I've had a couple of drinks. I'm coming back down to earth. Getting emails from Amtrak telling me at 9 o'clock at night the train's still in the station. Right? I'm like, fucking hell! It's so lucky that we got that Uber. Yeah. So then I get on the plane. I'm just about to turn my phone off just so I can relax and stuff. Get an email. The fires are out. We're just waiting for a crew change and then the train, but we don't know how long this will be. So people would have been stuck in that train from at least 3 o'clock. I think the train came from Washington to New York. So if they got on at Washington and they were going to like New York, they'd been stuck there. They'd be stuck in a train for fucking 8 hours or something.
My God, yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, you obviously made the right decision in terms of getting off and getting the Uber, but my God, yeah, what an absolute nightmare.
Big time. Yeah, honestly, but my nerves were fucking shot to pieces. And by the time I got home to Dubai, I got home in the house about 9 o'clock at night. I was jet lagged. The next day, I was flying to Scotland via Amsterdam. So between jet lag, between the fact that I pretty much was pissed every night that I was in America and a bit drunk, and pretty boozy on the flight back because the company put us in business class, and it was an A380, so you've got that wee bar just at the back of the plane with Emirates. So like I didn't know if I was coming or going on Friday, but yeah. Anyway, I'm glad to be back in my own house, and with all my own effects around me, and yeah, I'm ready to do some culture swallying. How have you been?
Wonderful. I've been all good, yeah, nothing else. I've got nothing exciting to report. I'd obviously told all my travelling news in the last couple of episodes, so no, I've just been here. Nothing exciting to report, but it's been all good. But I'm very glad to be back in the saddle and recording a new episode with you. And I'm very glad you're back.
Me too.
So, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks? I mean, you're going to be able to really tell us because you've been in Scotland for the last couple of weeks.
I have. There's been a lot going on, especially politically, which resounds quite nicely with our movie today, actually.
Of course, it certainly does. Yeah. Wonderful. Right, well, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, so why do you tell us what you've seen in Scotland over the last couple of weeks, especially since you've been there, so you've got some up-to-the-minute news, I would imagine.
Well, I don't know if it's up to the minute, but the one thing that I'm doing on the podcast today that I've never ever done before, because whenever we are, I was saying for you, whenever we're doing our news stories, we're always taking them off the internet. But I'm going old school today. I've actually got a newspaper. So I do.
Oh my goodness! Do they still print newspapers?
They do. This can you hear it whistling? It's true. I've got a copy of the Aberdeen Evening Express from the 29th of March. So today is the 8th of April. So it's just a little over a week old. So the headline reads, "Attack victim, I did it to myself." So this is a man accused of attempting to murder his best friend with a meat cleaver and hammer has been acquitted after the victim told a trial jury, "I probably did it to myself." Kim Twiddle's trial at the High Court in Aberdeen lasted less than 2 hours. And after hearing evidence from Scott Jarrett, the prosecution team decided to drop all the charges. Mr. Twiddle, 45, had been accused of attempting to murder his friend Mr. Jarrett at his home on Logue Roads in Crimmond, in Aberdeenshire, by assaulting him to his severe injury and permanent disfigurement. The charge stated that Mr. Twiddle repeatedly struck the 49-year-old on the head with a meat cleaver, and then repeatedly hit him on the head with a hammer. Mr. Twiddle was also accused of behaving in a threatening or abusive manner, engaging in a fight with Mr. Jarrett on the same date, September the 18th, 2020. He denied all the charges against him. Mr. Jarrett was the first and last witness to give evidence before the Crown decided that it would no longer be seeking convictions. Asked by Advocate Depute Leanne McQuillan if he remembered sustaining some injuries, Mr. Jarrett replied, "I can't remember anything about it. At the time, I was heavily involved with drinking and taking drugs. I was completely and utterly off my face, and I didn't ken what was going on." Mr. Jarrett went on to describe Mr. Twiddle as one of his best friends, and said the pair had consumed a colossal amount of alcohol and drugs. A colossal amount of alcohol and drugs across 4 days before the incident happened. Asked what he remembered about that day, Mr. Jarrett said, "Being half a drunk and out my face and falling all over the place. That's all I can remember." Miss McQuillan asked, "Do you remember getting those injuries?" He replied, "I probably did it to myself." The Advocate Depute then took Mr. Jarrett through a statement that he had given to police at the time, in which he said Mr. Twiddle had got a bit nippy. Reading the statement...
It's like you travelling.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Reading the statement, Miss McQuillan said, "Kim got aggressive with me and I saw him raise his right hand to go for me. The statement went on to detail 4 or 5 sharp blows to his head. However, asked if he'd been telling the truth, Mr. Jarrett said, I can't remember. Asked if he'd been lying, he said, I didn't ken what I was saying. He went on to say, I was out my face and didn't have a clue what I was saying. I was spicking gobbledygook probably.
I mean, we all speak gobbledygook after a colossal amount of bevy, don't we?
And drugs over 4 days. The defence counsel, Gareth Reid, said he had no cross-examination for the witness, and Ms McQuillan told the court that the Crown would no longer be seeking convictions. Lord Scott then formally acquitted Mr Twiddle of Rosemount Square, Aberdeen. So that's the end of the story.
I mean, my first thought when you hear the story is a hammer and a meat cleaver. I'm like, the fuck is he, Old Boy or something? Charging down a corridor, battering himself by the sounds of things. How could you inflict those injuries upon yourself? That is a hell of a weekend that you've had. I mean, that's a 4 day. That's a proper Easter weekend bank holiday.
I was going to say that's a bank holiday weekend. Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, he's been injured to his permanent disfigurement. So it's not just like falling over in the toilet and whacking your head off the pan or something like that. You know what I mean? That's bad.
Yeah, so it's something quite serious that's gone on there. But he thinks he's done it to himself because he says a colossal amount. That's a great. Never thought of that term. I had a fucking colossal amount of bevy and drugs last night.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, another thing is, who keeps a meat cleaver in a house? You know what I mean? Unless you're really serious.
We've got a meat cleaver.
Have you really?
I've got a meat cleaver. Yeah, we've got a meat cleaver. Yeah,
you're vegetarian.
Yeah, but it's still got a cleaver. Like it's handy for chopping up carrots and stuff.
It's handy for home defence. You just sort of leave it lying out all the time, and so any burglars looking through the window will be immediately deterred.
My wife still eats meat, but I can't remember. We got it. I think we were at a shop, I think, and we just saw it and we were like, "This is cool. Should we get this?" It's just like a fucking proper meat cleaver. Right. It's brilliant. Yeah, we'd never attack anyone with a home defence. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to. I'll maybe put it away in case one weekend I do have a colossal amount of booze and
just
decide to go.
Start knocking lumps at yourself with it. You know?
Try to do the bishop from Aliens knife trick, but with a meat cleaver.
Exactly.
So so he got acquitted of all charges, though, obviously, because the guy has just said I did it to myself.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all scot-free.
What a horrendous story. I mean, it's a great story, but Jesus, what the fuck is going on in Aberdeen? That's mental.
Well, it was in Crimond, wasn't it? I think Crimond.
Crimond.
Crimond's out towards Fraserburgh, I think, if I remember my Aberdeenshire geography.
Yeah, that explains a lot, actually.
Yeah. There's not a lot to do in the Aberdeenshire countryside, which I can speak from experience, having just spent a week there. So I'm hoping that the two have reconciled and they're once again best friends, and that a lesson has been learned somewhere about the dangers of taking colossal amounts of drugs and booze over 4 days.
I mean, I've never been that way inclined. Like, we've had a few sessions where we've had maybe a few days where we have ingested a colossal amount of abuse. Well, we'll put our bodies through some amount of abuse, but we have had long weekends where we have taken a colossal amount of booze, and
I'm sure our mutual friend will definitely have taken a colossal amount of abuse over a days like that, for sure.
But never even fall out or have harsh words with each other, like let alone bat or fuck out of each other. I've never been able to understand that.
I know.
What drives people to do that.
If anything, we go the other way. Oh, you're my best. Yeah, you're my best pal. Yeah. Honestly, I'd do anything for you, pal.
Yeah, we do go a bit that way. But yeah, I've never been able to understand that, getting violent or anything, but especially doing it to yourself. But who knows? It's once you've had a colossal amount, then it just takes you over, I guess.
I mean, I've definitely hurt myself a few times and I've been pissed, but not like, I haven't like self-inflicted hurt myself. I've like taken a tumble or done something stupid or something like that and hurt myself, but that way, you know, try to show off or whatever when I was younger.
No, you've never thought, right, now's a good time to get the chainsaw out and see how close I could get.
It sort of reminded me, like, you and I were talking on the group the other day, and no, we aren't even talking in the group, we're just talking to each other, and I was saying the BBC iPlayer at the moment has got both series of the young ones, like the classic old British sitcom with Rick Mayall and Asian Edmondson, etc. And like Vivian is quite into just like hitting his head off the wall, or you know what I mean, or cutting his own finger off and stuff. You know, I thought, I wonder if they've been watching the young ones or something, and maybe Kim's dared them. I bet you can't hit yourself in the head 4 or 5 times with a meat cleaver.
I mean, surely you start at a frying pan first and then go up to the meat cleaver.
Yeah.
After like 3 whacks with the frying pan, you're like, actually, I think I've had enough. I don't want to.
It's a fucking stupid idea. Maybe start with a Nerf gun or something like that. Although Nerf guns are quite sore if you get shot close enough with them. Anyway, that's my first story. As I say, I hope the two have reconciled and they're best pals and they've learnt their lesson. What's your first story this week?
My first story is your first one was from the Evening Express, sorry. Mine is from the Scottish Sun this week, and the headline is, Got Beef.
Right.
And the sub-headline is, Morrisons shopper is horrified after spotting a man stuffing 8 steaks down his trousers. Oh, just wait. It gets better. A Morrisons customer was left horrified after she witnessed a shopper putting 8 steaks down his trousers. The stunned woman claims she was browsing at the supermarket chain's Dalkeith branch near Edinburgh when the bizarre incident happened. The shopper said some of the vacuum-packed meat was returned to the shelf after the man was confronted by staff. After the incident on Wednesday, March the 15th. The disgusted customer wrote on Twitter, I was in your Dalkeith store today and alerted your staff... Oh, she's a fucking grass. I alerted your staff to a man who had put 8 steaks down his trousers and walked out the shop. Staff apprehended him, got 4 of the steaks back, and then the butcher put them back on the shelf. Is this usual practice? What I want to know is what happened to the other 4 steaks. Morrisons declined to comment when approached by the Scottish Sun, but they said they are aware of the incident. The Scottish Sun told how Morrisons' eco-campaign was plunged chili choppers into darkness in toilets and left others unable to read product labels in groomy stores. Customers complained that they need head torches and ski gear to brave Arctic conditions. After chain bosses cut the heating and lighting in a drive to become carbon neutral. And one told how his wife was forced to struggle out of a toilet cubicle by torchlight after being blacked out in the toilet.
Which is that a torch than a knickers or what?
We also told how a man living next to Morrisons is fuming about the CCTV cameras which peer into his bedroom and bathroom, with the residents comparing it to a prison camp. Many locals are unhappy with the bid and have lodged objections. So, the main story here is that now, this is what I want to know. So, she's seen this guy stuffing 8 steaks down his trousers. She's grassed on him. You know, that's on you. You know, whatever you want to do. Security have apprehended him, but they've only managed to get 4 back. So, did he get away with the other 4, or
could he?
And they've just taken them out his trousers and just put them straight back on the shelf? For fuck's sake.
Or were the other 4 too soiled to go back on the shelf, perhaps?
That's what I'm wondering. He's put them down as jobby catchers, and then he's... who knows what's happened to the other 4? I mean, 8 steaks. Could you fit 8 steaks down your trousers, do you think?
Well, probably not, because I don't wear particularly baggy trousers. I tend to wear sort of closer fitting trouser, you know, so...
Vacuum packed. So would you be happy to eat a steak if you knew it had been down somebody's trousers, even though it's vacuum packed, so it's sealed?
I mean, I probably wouldn't. If, you know, given the choice, probably not. You know? Well,
yeah, I mean, ideally you wouldn't want to, but, you know, just saying, would you?
If I had to, I guess I'd just cook it a bit more than I would normally cook a steak, perhaps.
It's not a Bush Tucker trial or anything, I'm just asking. Would you have a JK steak?
I mean, if I was starving, I maybe would cook it perhaps medium as opposed to my usual medium rare. Just being a safe side.
Yeah. So you'd be like, okay, Greg, what we have here is a steak that's been wiped on a Jakey's balls. Will you eat it? You get a star.
I mean, if it got me in the telly, I probably would.
And then after, you get a bratwurst that's been up his arse. But yeah, horrified. You can only imagine. But then also, Morrisons are obviously in a cost-cutting campaign. People are having to wear head torches and gloves to go into their stores.
I mean, utilities are very expensive in the UK at the moment. So, but do you know what? Do you know what I think is probably more likely? So a lot of places will have sort of power saving lights. So if there's nobody in there, the little motion detector tells the light there's nobody in there and it goes off, and then when somebody comes in it should come on automatically.
Yeah.
And maybe it just hasn't picked up her movement or something. Maybe she's been sitting on the pan for ages and ages. She
was in there having a movement and then she didn't pick up her movement. Exactly. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I know it can be difficult for old people to sometimes. That's why they eat a lot of things like prunes and stuff like that.
Anyway, so just a warning to our listeners: if you are in Morrisons in the Dalkeith branch, I would just check the steaks and see if they're body temperature wise, how they are to the touch, and if they smell. I was going to say maybe faintly of piss.
If you're detecting that common aroma of urine and purple tin, spilled purple tin, you might want to put it back in the shelf and take one from the back.
Have the lamb instead. I think that's probably the best bet. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, right. So, what else have you seen this week, Greg?
Okay. So this is another good one I found today.
Oh, we'll be the judge of that. I think.
On the Scottish Sun from just yesterday. The headline in true classic Scottish Sun style is Orgy Bargy. Historic sawmill at the centre of a demolition battle is being used as a sex club, complete with its own dungeon. So a 19th century sawmill is being used as a sex club in Glasgow. Swingers and fetishists meet regularly for kinky parties at the C-listed Renaissance block, which boasts 8 playrooms and a love swing. Unsuspecting MSP Paul Sweeney, who's going to be really pleased that his name is going to be forever attached to this story, is at the centre of the fight to save the 2-storey building in Port Dundas in Glasgow, which developers want to turn into 60 flats. The admired former City Sawmill Works Office was designed by the architect George Bell in 1893. One local witness partygoers at the venue said, "I wonder if these history buffs would be so keen to save the building if they knew what was going on inside its walls. Never mind listed status, it should be rubber-stamped X-rated." A promotion for the saucy CJs at the Townhouse Club reads, "We have 8 playrooms, an open room, a fully equipped dungeon, couples and single female-only room love swing, cinema room, and 4 private rooms, one which is medical themed and one which can be a voyeur room." When we revealed the sex club to Mr. Swinney, he said, "Goodness me, I didn't know it was being used for that. My interest begins and ends with its architectural features. Methinks the honourable member protest too much."
Goodness me.
Yeah. Goodness me. A spokeswoman from CJ's declined to comment. But the Scottish Sun apparently revealed recently that Scottish OnlyFans star Lana Wolf, who has appeared on the Swally before, although not in person,
yes.
She moved into a church and built her own sex dungeon. The Scots Stunner, I think that's probably an exaggeration. She's not bad looking. Is one of the biggest names in the adult industry and earns big bucks. and earns big bucks from her OnlyFans subscriber. But she shocked folk when she made her biggest investment recently, splashing £500,000 on a converted chapel in Glasgow. So in Port Dundas, which is quite an industrial area, my auntie actually, there used to be, and there may still be, one of the distilleries in Port Dundas. My auntie used to work in it when I was a little boy. I think it's shut down since. I don't know. I can't say if it's been used as like a sex club or something. I would think it is. But this is the City Sawmill. What do you think of that?
I mean, it sounds like something out of a horror movie, doesn't it? Like, I can imagine this old abandoned kind of barn and these, circular saws being used as sex tools. It's, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't strike me as particularly sexy, does it? I mean, well, I guess it takes all sorts, but
it sounds as though it's all been refurbished and made into a sort of sexy. I mean, it sort of reads as though it's kind of all above board, and it's a sort of safe space for sort of couples and perverts, and deviants and stuff like that to go along and indulge in their disgusting fantasies in a safe space,
So it's kind of like Eyes Wide Shut, but in a sawmill.
In Glasgow, yeah.
Type thing. In Glasgow.
With a love swing.
Balls clamped shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, a love swing. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't imagine anything unsexier than swinging on a love swing in a sawmill in Glasgow. I'm sure it's all been done up and it's all, beautiful plush cushions and with studs in them, and it's all diamond encrusted dildos and all that jazz. But it doesn't strike me as very sexy. No. That the MSP is he's a regular there when he's like, oh, what did he say? Golly gosh, I didn't realise that was what it was used for.
It's a goodness me, he said.
Goodness me, is he out of Enid Blyton or something?
He's either fighting to save the sex club or he's fucked it. Basically, do you know what I mean? He's just he saw what he thought was a good cause, which might get him a little bit of good press, some goodwill, and it's sort of gone off in his face. You might say,
it's gone off in his face. Yeah, that's gonna come back to haunt him when that place gets raided and they fucking get all the credit card receipts from there. He's gonna be in for a bit of a rude awakening there, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Scottish government
allegedly.
Yeah. I'm not sure the Scottish government needs any more bad press this week, to be quite honest.
No. He was released without charge, Greg.
Yeah. Actually, it doesn't say whether Paul Swinney is MSP for the SNP or for one of the other parties, but he is wearing a tie that suggests the sort of SNP colour scheme, so I suspect he's probably one of Hamza's guys,
Yeah, I think we're going to leave that hot potato just there. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my sexy sawmill in Glasgow. What's your next story this week?
My next story is also from the Scottish Sun. It's quite a Scottish Sun-centric episode this week. And the headline is Blockbuster. I'm the UK's biggest cinema fan. I see 2 movies a day. Cineworld is my office. So this is a film flan. A film flan? He's not a cake. He's a fan from Glasgow. And he's revealed that he is the UK's biggest cinema goer. Marco Greco, 50, loves the escape of going to see the latest movies, and he reckons he watches about 700 a year. He spoke out after seeing fellow cinema nut Mark Green get praised up last week for only going to see 208 films a year. Marco from Glasgow said, "That guy's trying to steal my crown. I blow him out the water. I come to the cinema 7 days a week, but I'd be here 8 days a week if I could." Good on you, Marco. There's nothing better than the escape and being transported to another world. I love it. Marco thinks he picked up his love of movies from his dad, and he's been going to see film since he was about 10. He goes to see everything, including animated movies and even big releases he doesn't that much fancy. Since last Friday, he's been to see the new John Wick film 6 times. Now, could you imagine going to the cinema to see a film 6 fucking times?
No, I mean, so is he? So okay. No, yeah, definitely not. Is he not sort of content? I thought his contention there was that he went to see 700 new films a year, but it doesn't really count if you go to see the same film fucking 6 times, surely.
No. That's what I would say with you, Greg. I would agree with you on that, I think. So his favourite film of all time is Castaway with Tom Hanks. So a pal got in touch when he realised someone else had been hailed as the #1 cinema goer. Marco said, "I don't want to sound like a weirdo or anything like that. My mum tells me I'm off my nut, but I'm the biggest cinema fan in the country. There is no one who comes more than me. I'm here so often."
Apart from be John Swinney, MSP.
I come here so often, I use the public seating area as my office. I send all my emails and messages from there. Marco has a Cineworld Unlimited card, I'd fucking hope so, Marco, which means he can go and see as many movies as he wants for a fixed fee. He reckons paying for every ticket would cost him £300 a month. The former barber is out of work at the moment because he's caring for his elderly mum. But once he's sorted her for the day, he heads to his first showing and then walks straight into the next one to see more. He does have a girlfriend, he would like to stress, but
he never sees her.
Well, because she has no interest in movies. Marco said, "She's with the wrong guy, really. I tell her she has to wash her mouth out with soap and water." I mean, all right, Marco, fucking easy on. So I mostly end up coming on my own. But that's fine by me. Marco has always asked for his views on the latest releases by friends, and he now wants to launch a new career. He said, "I'm the new Barry Norman. I'd love to become a proper reviewer. I'd be good at it. I know what everyone likes to watch." Alison Chase, general manager of Cineworld on Glasgow's Renfrew Street, said, "We fully support Marco's claim to being the king of cinema here in the UK. We see him every day, and the team's always looking forward to hearing the reviews of the latest films." I bet they're fucking not. I bet they're fucking sick of this. They're just like, "Oh fuck, here's this cunt again." Marco has an unlimited card, which means he can see as many films as he'd like each month, and he's definitely making the most of it. We want more Glasgow locals to do the same, so we've just introduced unlimited memberships at £10.99 a month for the first 3 months, so you can see as many films as you want for the price of 1 month. There are some great blockbusters coming our way, such as Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Fast X, and Little Mermaid, so join Unlimited and see them there. Marco has listed his top 5 films of all time. I just want to reiterate that, Greg. His top 5 films of all time.
Right.
Would you like to know what Marco's top 5 films of all time are?
I'm ready. Let's hear what this tiresome cunt's top 5 films are.
Well, we've already said his favourite film of all time is Castaway with Tom Hanks, yeah? His second favourite film of all time is John Wick, the original, not the fourth one that he's already been to see 6 times, the original, yeah?
Okay.
Number 3 is The Godfather, which, you know, it's a lazy choice, I think. Number 4, someone we can all agree with, I think, is Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
And number 5 is Elvis.
I've not seen Elvis yet. Although my daughter watched Elvis last night when we were flying back from London, and she said it was good. So I suppose I'll have to watch it at some point.
I would highly recommend it. It's very good. But yeah, so that is Marco. So he is the UK's biggest cinema.
It sounds like a fucking tiresome cunt to me, I've got to be quite honest.
Yeah. It does a bit. I'm a bit shocked at that. Like, his girlfriend doesn't like films. I need to tell her she needs to wash her mouth out with soap and water. Like, Jesus Christ, Marco, you can't go saying stuff like that.
Do you think maybe Arnie Hammer's like his favourite movie star?
Possibly. Anyway, wish you all the best of luck, Marco, and I hope that you enjoy your cinema going experience in the future. Have you seen anything else in the last couple of weeks, Greg?
Well, I've got a story that's, I'm sure our listeners will be relieved, that does not contain any deviants, people masturbating in the street or anything like that. But it's definitely one that's maybe a bit more up our alley, just because of our interests, which aren't related to Scottish media and culture. So this is from the Daily Record. Yesterday, a toy found by a Scot while cleaning out his mum's house has sold for £8,500 at auction. So it's a rare 1957 Radicon toy robot. It's made in Japan. These old Japanese robots are highly sought after, I understand. When it was featured in McTeer's Antique and Interiors auction in Glasgow, it was expected to fetch up to 10 grand, but it sold for 8,400. It was made by the Japanese toy maker Masudea in 1957. So, and it was the first to be produced in a member of the Gang of Five robots that were only available by special purchase in the late 1950s, giving it a heightened status. So I think, that's a story basically, but I think that's a bit of a sort of dream, isn't it, to come across something like that somewhere,
Yeah, I mean, I remember being delighted when I went to my local toy shop in Amsterdam, and there was a toy shop just round the corner where I used to sell like vintage, toys and stuff. And I found a WWE Classic Superstars Jerry Briscoe figure that I knew for a fact was worth about €90 or so. And he had it for sale for 20.
Oh.
So I bought that, put it straight on eBay, got €95 for it, posted it off. And I was delighted at that. However, this guy is taking it to another level. That is, that's, as you say, that's the dream, finding something that's worth a fortune that you're going to end up selling for a fortune.
Yeah, and I'll bet there's a story behind that toy, because I can't imagine that Japanese toys were that easy to come by in Scotland in the 1950s, so it's been somebody's dad's been like in the Merchant Navy or something like that, or the Royal Navy, and has brought it back. It's in the box and everything. So really nice little story there. Do you have any more stories this week?
Lovely. I do. I have a quick little story, but it leads to more of a game for you, Greg. Okay. So last week, Samuel L. Jackson is filming in Glasgow at the moment, and he was photographed holding up a Ranger shirt that he had signed for a charity auction. So this led to all the Rangers fans claiming Samuel L. Jackson as a Rangers fan. However, this week, Sam has been photographed in a Celtic tracksuit. So they've kind of gone into meltdown of, well, what's he doing? Who's he supporting? But obviously if he's wearing the tracksuit, then, you would think he's a Celtic fan. So there was an article in the Scottish Sun earlier this week, and it was a list of famous Hollywood celebrities that have been photographed in either a Rangers top or a Celtic top over the years. So I'd like to play a little game that I'd like to call, are they a boy, B-H-O-Y, or a Billy boy? I'm going to give you my list of celebrities, and I want you to tell me, are they a boy or are they a Billy boy? So,
okay.
First up on the list, I've got an easy one for you, because this is easy. Everyone knows this one. The Dogfather himself, Snoop D-O-G-G. Snoop Dogg, is he a boy or is he a Billy boy?
I believe he's a boy, Snoop Dogg.
Correct. He is. He is indeed a Celtic fan, and he's famously pictured in Celtic tops quite a lot. Okay, next up, I'm going to give you the star of Mad Men, Don Draper, and I believe he's Fletch in the new Fletch films, John Hamm. Is he a boy or is he a Billy boy?
Right, let me think. So John Hamm, good-looking guy. He's got a bit of a sense of humour, I believe. I liked him in Baby Driver. Thought he was good in that. I would say John Hamm is, he's probably quite happy to eat meat on a Friday because of his second name. So I'm going to say he's a Billy boy.
Actor John Hamm visited Glasgow last January and was spotted taking in Celtic against Hibs at Parkhead. And there's a photograph of John wearing a Celtic hat. So he's a boy, unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to give you next. I believe he's probably best known as McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. It's Patrick Dempsey, the actor. Is Patrick Dempsey a boy or is he a Billy boy?
Let me see. I fucked it on John Hamm, so I'm going to go with the law of averages and say that Patrick Dempsey is a Billy boy.
Patrick Dempsey was once spotted in Los Angeles wearing a Rangers home jersey from the 2010-2011 season. And there's a photo of Patrick Dempsey walking around LA with Tennants on his chest wearing the Billy Boy blue of Rangers. Okay, next up, I give you popular singer Lana Del Rey. Is Lana Del Rey a boy or a Billy boy or a Billy lady boy?
Let me think. Well, I know that obviously her namesake Lana Wolf is famously a Rangers fan, so I'm going to going to go out on a bit of a limb and say that Lana Del Rey is a Billy Boy.
Lana Del Rey is an admirer of Celtic, having always had a soft spot for the Hoops after her relationship with Glasgow-born Cassidy frontman Barry James O'Neill. Right. In 2020, the US singer wowed Celtic fans with a stunning rendition of You'll Never Walk Alone. So,
wow. Oh, well.
You're not doing very well here, Greg.
No.
Okay, I've got 2 left for you.
Okay.
2 left. So I'm going to give you, I was going to say something there, but I can't say. Bear in mind his history. I think it should be obvious what he is. I'm going to give you former world heavyweight champion of the world, Iron Mike Tyson. Is he a boy or is he a Billy Boy?
Let me think. I think he's probably a Billy Boy.
Mike Tyson was pictured wearing a Rangers top when leaving a gym in 2010. He was also spotted by snappers in Rangers gear outside a SmackDown gym in Peterborough. So yes, he is a Billy Boy. Mm-hmm. And the final one I've got for you is Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr. Is he a boy or is he a Billy Boy?
I think probably Downey Jr. is a boy.
The Iron Man star caused a frenzy on social media when a picture of him in a hoops top went viral. So Robert Downey Jr. is a boy. So that concludes Boy or Billy Boy. You did all right, Greg. You got a few wrong at the start, but you pulled yourself back towards the end there with Mike Tyson and Robert Downey Jr. So I think you did a good job there.
I quit myself, yeah. Now,
did any of those shock you?
Not really. It doesn't really surprise me when Americans sort of gravitate more toward Celtic, because obviously you've got the Boston Celtics who play in green, who I think are one of the most supported basketball teams, especially with famous people from the East Coast. So yeah, I'm never that surprised when I think the colours are more to their taste. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
But you've reminded me there when you mentioned Mike Tyson. I need to address something that I said on the last episode of the Culture Swally when I mentioned that the very recently late Ken Buchanan, who died last week, probably Scotland's most successful ever boxer. We were talking about him on the last episode, and then unfortunately he passed away at the beginning of last week. I mentioned that Ken had appeared in Still Game, but of course it was Jim Watt who appeared in Still Game, not Ken Buchanan. But I was very sorry to see that Ken had passed away there last week.
Yeah, I thought about that as well when I read the news, and I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty sure we just mentioned him on the last episode of the podcast. I hope we're not going to start one of those curse things. So yeah, genuinely, probably one of Scotland's greatest athletes and sports persons, yeah. Okay, Greg, so before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
Today, there are over 200 building societies in Britain, yet only a handful have head offices outside England. One of these is the Dunfermline, Scotland's largest building society. The Dunfermline offers a wide choice of attractive savings plans, including our new premium income account, which earns a high 8.75%. With 35 branches from Kirkwall to Castle Douglas, the Dunfermline is very much your local building society. Scotland's largest, and growing every day.
And if you'd like to sponsor the Culture Swally, then please get in touch on cultureswally@gmail.com. Okay, Greg, so it was your choice on the Swally this week, so why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
So this week I picked something that I had only seen a little bit of before. I can't remember if you said if you'd seen it, but I picked the 2008 movie Stone of Destiny, directed by Charles Martin Smith, who's probably better known for his acting, famously in The Untouchables and American Graffiti. But he did direct the very first episode of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, which is quite interesting. As I said, the film was released in 2008. It stars Daredevil, Charlie Cox, the lovely Kate Mara, Robert Carlyle, and Swally favourite Stephen McCole. The film is based on the famous Christmas Day 1950 removal of the Stone of Scone from Westminster Abbey by members of the Scottish Covenant Association, which were a group fighting for home rule for Scotland. So, what did you think of, what was your thoughts on Stone of Destiny?
Yeah, I was aware of this film. I'd never seen it. So first time viewing it, but I was aware of it. And of course, we all know about the story of the stealing of the Stone of Scone and taking it back over the border. So it's a famous story, but I'd never actually seen the film, but I was aware of its existence. I watched this last week with my wife for the first time that I'd seen it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like
it's great, isn't it?
It's almost a bit like a TV kind of movie. Like it reminded me a little bit of like a kind of 1950s Ealing kind of caper. At the end of the day, it's a heist movie.
Yeah.
It's more of a caper than a heist, because there's no, and it's quite refreshing to see. There's no guns, there's no explosions, there's no car chases. It's just a nice kind of gentle film.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely, I say, watching this with my wife, because she's German, and she's watching this and she's like, you guys have just got so much history and stuff. Like, it must be so great to be Scottish, like in terms of just all this rich history and culture and all this stuff that you can talk about and make films about. And it is wonderful, and it's a wonderful kind of history lesson in a way. I mean, I do think, and we'll come back to that later, that they don't go in enough, in my opinion, of the history of the Stone of Scone and everything that goes with it. It is kind of like, but it's, for what it is, it's a 90-minute, light-hearted kind of caper, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I did really enjoy watching it, and there's some great performances in it as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. So perhaps for the benefit of maybe listeners overseas who are unfamiliar, the Stone of Scone historically and originally was the stone that the kings of Scotland were coronated on, and it was stolen by Edward I, or Longshanks, Braveheart fans will know him better as, taken to London as a spoil of war and placed in his chair in Westminster Abbey, and all English and then British monarchs have been crowned on it, because I guess the contention is that when they're coronated as the king or queen on the Stone of Destiny, then it sort of cements their rule over Scotland as well as the rest of the Union. The actual heist itself, I mean, I was reading about it, and the film it's very, very close to actual events. I mean, there are some bits which I'm sure have been dramatised, but the sort of broad strokes are very, very close to what actually happened. But it's thought that the heist itself was based on the story in a book called The North Wind of Love, which was released in 1944 by an author called Compton Mackenzie, which tells the story of a group of people stealing the famous stone from Westminster Abbey. It's thought that Ian Hamilton and his cohorts took inspiration from the book. In terms of the performances, as you mentioned, there's some great ones. Let me know if you agree with this, but I think Charlie Cox maybe listened to a lot of Ewan McGregor speaking when he was working on it. when he was working on his Scottish accent, because he sounds, in certain parts of the film, he sounds almost identical to Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, I thought quite similar, actually. I really did, and he does. Look, Charlie Cox is great, and he is a great actor. We both love the Daredevil TV series, and he's brilliant in that. He is great in this, but he's English at the end of the day. Like, I can only presume, was James McAvoy busy or just not interested in this? Because this is the kind of role that James McAvoy would have been perfect for, and would have done, I don't want to say better than Cox, because he does do a good performance, but at the end of the day, he's English. Yeah, his accent, it's pretty, it's spot on. There's not a lot. I mean, we'll come to Kate, Jessica Lange, Mara later on, but I think Cox, he does a good Scottish accent. You wouldn't really have noticed otherwise. I can't help but like, a lot of the times when he's acting, and I guess it is just because I'm so used to seeing him in Daredevil, like, he does look like he's blind a lot of the time when he's kind of, some of the way he glances and looks at things. But it is a good performance, and he's very believable in terms of as Ian.
He's very earnest, I think. And when I was reading a bit about Ian Hamilton, and I think Ian Hamilton, like, through his whole life, was a bit of a sort of antagonist to some extent, and I think you do see a little bit of that in the performance from Charlie Cox. I think the only times his accent is a bit wobbly is when he tries to use a bit of sort of kind of colloquialism like "all right" or "thanks, mate" and stuff like that. When he's just got lines to deliver in his accent, he's pretty good. I think maybe the reason that McAvoy maybe didn't get this part, if he was even up for it, I think probably Charlie Cox had a bit more juice, because the year before he was in Stardust, the Matthew Vaughn directed story based on the Neil Gaiman book, which has got an all-star cast. We actually watched it last year with the kids. There's worse ways to spend a rainy Saturday afternoon than watching Stardust, by the way. But I wonder if maybe Charlie Cox just had a bit more juice than McAvoy then, because McAvoy would have been doing like The Last King of Scotland. Well, maybe not actually, because McAvoy did The Last King of Scotland a couple of years before this came out. So who knows?
I think around about this time, I think McAvoy was in like Wanted with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, so maybe that's why he didn't do it then. Maybe McAvoy had too much juice to appear in this one, because the production is quite a. It's quite a sort of low budget movie. I think it's Canadian Film Board provided the funding and stuff for it, and I suppose getting Charles Martin Smith, like an American director, and everything in to direct it.
I mean, it's kind of, as you say, low budget, but then the cast is quite not stellar. But we have Charlie Cox, as you say, he was probably on quite a high at that time. Kate Mara was just kind of taking off in a way. I think she'd just done Shooter with like Mark Wahlberg around about this time as well. You've got Billy Boyd, Steve McCole, Peter Mullan, Robert Carlyle, Brenda Fricker as well. Rab Affleck. Yeah, there's quite a decent cast in this film too. So, and I think a lot of the supporting parts have got a good part to play in this as well. I mean, Peter Mullan obviously that's one thing I would say about this film. It is quite gentle and kind of twee, and the only kind of grit comes from Peter Mullan's character, effectively, who is quite a scary father figure.
You just can't, can't help it though.
Speak up.
Yeah.
Speak up, please. You are quite like, holy shit. But yeah, you're right. Peter Mullan, I guess, just can't help it. It's just the way he is. Yeah. But he's in his 2 scenes. He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he's great. And his last scene when he, and it's because it's just Peter Mullan just can't help but bring a bit of an edge to every character he plays. And the thing is, I suppose they could have got anybody to play Hamilton's dad. You could have got Cosmo in, or somebody a bit, it's because, to your point, it's not exactly, because they don't make an awful lot of the relationship between Hamilton and his dad. You get that sort of suggestion at the start that Hamilton's dad's got high expectations of his son. He doesn't approve of the sort of political leanings that Hamilton has, and then the fact that he doesn't seem to have sort of settled on what he's going to do at university. A bit frustrated and stuff, but they don't sort of dwell on it that much. And I think if you didn't have somebody like Peter Mullan there who brings that gravitas to the role, that second scene when he tells him how proud of him he is, it wouldn't have had the same gravitas. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have had the same effect. But yeah, I mean, it's a really Swally centric cast in this movie. You know what I mean? It's just, if you look at our Swally tally, it's just everybody, almost everybody, every Scottish actor in the cast has appeared in something, at least one thing that we've covered.
And we did have, but he was cut out of the film. That Christopher Lee.
Yeah, I read that.
Was originally cast as the old Ian Hamilton, and originally it was meant to be told like in a flashback.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they cut that out and stopped that, because it just would have turned it into a bit like a fucking Titanic.
Yeah.
Like, I know 100 years ago, I stole the Stone of Destiny. Yeah, no, I'm glad they kind of got rid of that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Lee is actually one of my favourite actors, and I know that he's sort of famous for doing the kind of Hammer films and the sort of schlockier stuff, although he does appear in things like The Wicker Man and Lord of the Rings. But I mean, the reason that I really, and it's like a really stupid reason, right? But the reason that one of the many reasons why I really can't be arsed with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films is because I read about how shittily he treated Christopher Lee. Poor Christopher Lee, you know what I mean? He's been acting for years, an old man, very dignified old man, and he's being taken, he's getting roasted by this fucking fat Kiwi specky director. Do you know what I mean? No, I did read about that. And we know that Christopher Lee can do like a reasonable Scottish accent because, of course, he's famously Lord Summerisle in The Wicker Man. So, yeah, I did read about that.
So it's a fascinating story. I mean, there's not a lot to the story at the end of the day. Effectively, it's just come out that there's been a vote and, Scotland aren't getting their own parliament, and Ian Hamilton decides that there needs to be some sort of symbol that has to show that we're not going to put up with your shit any longer. Like, there has to be something. And he just so suddenly decides, you know what, we're going to steal the Stone of Destiny and take it back. And quite quickly he gets a little ragtag group together, and that's exactly what they do. And that's pretty much it to the film. They go, they nick it, they take it back. It's like the simplest heist you've ever seen in a film. They just, I mean, there's not a lot of tension. I mean, the most tension comes when Ian loses his car keys towards the end of the film. That's it. There's no peril or anything really, but it's such a simple story, and I think it does show the very patrioticness of Scotland, and I think it is kind of summed up in a couple of parts of we're just doing this as a symbol, and we're just going to take this back, and it could be seen as like a student prank, but it was a very serious thing in terms of them doing this and trying to make like a political statement.
Come on, we'll get a pint, we'll talk about it.
No more talk, all right? I'm serious. Someone's got to do something.
So what are you going to do then? Get an army? Invade England?
Of course not.
Then what, Ian? What?
A symbol. We need a symbol, a gesture. Something to wake these people up a bit. An act of revolution, a salt march.
A what?
Gandhi, when they march across India protesting taxes and salt.
Oh, so you're Gandhi now?
No, because, Bill, you know what we are. You know what Scottish people are. We're ashamed. Ashamed of being Scottish. Screw them, because I'm not.
Well, that's exactly it, and when I was reading about the heist itself, because as we've been growing up in Scotland, so Scottish nationalism has always been it's always been in the sort of atmosphere, the kind of political atmosphere in Scotland, and obviously no more so than the last sort of 10, 15 years when the SNP have been the controlling party in the devolved Scottish government. But it was interesting to read that, and I don't know if it was because it was so close to the end of the Second World War or whatever. I'm not sure what the reason was for it, but it seemed that like Scottish nationalism wasn't a particularly big thing in the late 40s and 1950s in Scotland. There's a scene at the start of the film when the guy in the pub roasts them for talking about nationalism and says, it's North Britain. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that was just a device used in the film or if that was actually the case. I don't know. All my grandparents have gone, so I don't have anybody to ask about it. Like, anybody? I don't have anybody who was alive around about that time anymore. But if that was the case, if Scottish nationalism just wasn't really on the agenda apart from like a small group of people in the shape of this the Scottish Covenant.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, as you say, my grandparents are, all long gone as well, so I don't know what the kind of feeling was at that time. Yep. I mean, I'd be surprised, like, that, North Britain, like, I've never really heard of that.
I've never heard that, yeah.
Being so, I don't know if that is true. There is maybe some sort of artistic license in this film, and it does seem like this is kind of an American stroke Canadian view of Scotland.
Yeah.
And, put down upon it. It's very much kind of Braveheart, Rob Roy, Shot of Glory type film. They kind of put down upon Scots. I mean, at one point, Ian says, and it's something that I massively disagree with, he does say Scottish people are ashamed of being Scottish. Mm-hmm. And apart from Rangers fans, I don't know any single Scottish person that is ashamed of being Scottish.
Well, like Celtic fans would rather be Irish, but
I guess that's true. Actually, let's just go all in there. Yeah, we're not going to split. Yeah. But I've never met a Scots person that's ashamed of being Scottish.
No,
I'm so proud to be Scottish. And that's, I think, and I did check, and I think it is like the top 3 nations in the world or something that are like so proud of their nationality are, I think it's the Scots, the Dutch, and the Welsh.
Yeah.
Are like the 3 kind of that are so proud. And I've never met anyone that is, apart from Renton, maybe, it's shite being Scottish. But I was very surprised to hear that line and to hear that if that was a way of thinking at the time. And as you said, it was just after the war. I would have thought it would have been more galvanised in terms of the kind of national identity of being Scottish and being proud.
Well, and this is just pure conjecture. I'm sure, if any of our listeners know better, then let us know in the socials. But I think maybe, like going through the World War of 6 years and the war effectively being fought in the country, albeit in the skies, and the kind of bombings of Clydebank and other parts of Scotland and stuff like that by the Nazis. I don't know if there was like a feeling of perhaps British national patriotism after beating the Nazis, beating tyranny, freeing Eastern Europe, although we did then just hand it over to Russia. But maybe there was a feeling of sort of national pride and getting behind the British government, getting behind the royal family and everything else, sort of generally speaking. And I guess it also depends on the guys who volunteered to go off and fight in the war when they came back. Were they off fighting for Scotland or were they off fighting for Britain? I guess, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true indeed, actually. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think it would need to maybe delve a bit more into what the feeling was around about that time.
Yeah.
Charlie Cox, assisted by his band of merry men, I guess we'll come on to the lovely Kate Mara. As I've said, Kate Jessica Lange Mara. Her accent is all over the place. Let's just be quite honest.
Excuse me, it's Kay, isn't it?
It might be.
Ian Hamilton.
I know.
Nice to meet you. You dancing?
You asking?
Yeah, it might be.
I like the idea of teaching. Working with children and helping them find their way in the world.
You must be the Highlander and you only happy when you're tending the helpless or battling English.
Well, we're simple folk.
I like your necklace, by the way. Boyfriend?
No, from my father. Wonderful man, the crofter.
Ah, we farm lass.
Grew up with the sheep. And watching my father struggle every day trying to feed us. Paying taxes to a government that knows as much about the Highlands as they know about the moon.
I'm not quite sure. I was trying to think of, around about this time, who else could have been cast in this role? Because I think Laura Fraser would have been a bit too old for this role around about that time, maybe. So yeah. I was trying to think of a Scottish actress that could have had it. And don't get me wrong, Kate Mara, she's great, and she's a very good actress, and obviously she's lovely. But did it need her in this? Could it have had a Scottish actress playing that part? She doesn't do much, really. She spends half the film sick, in the car, so she doesn't have a huge amount. She does kind of save the day towards the end in terms of the heist, but I don't know. Could someone else have played that role? Really?
Well, that's to your point. Who is there? I was thinking of. What's the actress called from Braveheart who plays in the beginning? Oh my God, her head's completely going out my head. The actress who plays Wallace's wife, who gets dispatched at the end of the first act in Braveheart. It's right on the tip of my tongue. You know who I'm talking about, right? You could maybe have had Kelly MacDonald. Maybe she would have been, because she's sort of ever young, isn't she, Kelly MacDonald?
Are you thinking of Catherine McCall?
Yeah. She's maybe a wee bit too old, though, eh?
Yeah, I think, a little bit too old, I think, for around about that time, because you need someone that's kind of student-y-ish type of age. That's why I was thinking Laura Fraser was maybe just slightly too old. And then we've got such a beautiful kind of generation now of Scottish actresses coming through, but I guess they would have all been too young at the time. So trying to find someone at that kind of point,
but maybe Karen
is maybe a bit tricky.
Karen Gillan, when did she start doing Doctor Who? That was around about this time, right? Or was it a bit later?
Maybe just slightly later, but maybe around about that time could have been okay. Yeah,
I think the problem with Karen Gillan is she'd have been taller than all the guys in the film. So,
true. Yeah, possibly. But Kate Mara does a decent job.
She's good. I think Kelly MacDonald could have been good in the role. She's... Because what age would she have been then? So she was 19 and...
so she'd have been her 30s. like late 30s.
No, she was 19 when Trainspotting came out. That was only 12 years before. She'd have been in her early 30s. I suppose, yeah, it's probably too old though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, still too old. I mean, this is 2008.
Yeah.
You're talking 20 years?
No, 12 years.
12 years, sorry. Ahead of 12 years. Yeah, still a bit too old, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But she sort of looks quite young, Kelly MacDonald, though. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, but no, yeah, Kate Mara is a surprising choice. I mean, what fascinates me about Kate Mara is that she looks exactly the same now as she did 14 years ago.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she puts it down to her vegan diet and exercise routine, she said.
But nice to see Daredevil and Sue Storm together. For, For a little
kiss and a cuddle.
Heist.
Little kiss and a cuddle.
Yeah.
The other actor who is prominent in this, who is one of our favourites, is and is also, well, I don't know if he's a fan of the podcast, but I know he's a fan of our social media and Instagram, is the intimitable Stephen McCole.
Now, the film just seems to come to life when Stephen McCole comes in it.
Definitely.
It just adds this little extra spark when Gavin appears. And I know we are biased because we are huge fans of Stephen McCole, but it just adds this kind of gravitas to it, and it just seems to light up. And he's just got so many amazing, little one-liners, and just he's so playful and fun, but so earnest, and delivers one of my favourite lines of the film when they're in London and the police are kind of there, and Ian is kind of like, "Oh, they've got our names." And Gavin's like, "Aye, and they've got our stone." And it's just, it's so like, that's just gets your heart. Like, come on, go and get it. Go on. And he's just, he's wonderful. It turns out he brings his mate Alan along because he's got a car. And it's like this carefully laid plan that Ian's done, because fucking Billy Boyd's fucked off back to the Shire because he's too shite scared to take part in this heist. So he's had to get Gavin on board, and then, he brings his mate Alan along, and it just kind of derails the whole plan, but it works obviously well. But yeah, Steve McCole just absolutely just shines through in this film. So good.
It brings such a lot of energy to it, and it's a real, it's as good as Charlie Cox is an actor, and his accent is good, and to somebody who didn't know, it might almost convince them that he was Scottish. But I think Steve McCole brings a bit of a needed Scottish energy to the whole enterprise. You know what I mean? It's just like the little scene when he's left alone in the road after they've got the stone, and he says, "I'll get the train," and he's sort of jigging, celebrating that the heist has gone off. I mean, it's a real Scottish energy. And I was reading a bit about the guy that he plays, Gavin Vernon, because he's got a bit of a Wikipedia entry. It's not a massive article, but when he graduated from university and got married, he actually emigrated to Canada, Gavin Vernon. And he became a successful engineer working all around the world, Vancouver, Czechoslovakia, Saudi Arabia, Aberdeen. But he, when the stone was officially returned to Scotland in 1996, albeit, as the film says at the end, it was only on loan, Gavin attended the ceremony in Edinburgh on Christmas Eve 2000, which was the 50th anniversary of the event. He returned to Westminster Abbey, which was specially opened for him. Unfortunately, he's since passed away in 2004, but he sounds like a real character, and when you read about somebody like that, you think, you with McCole's performance, you could imagine Steve McCole as Gavin Vernon going on to emigrate to Canada and go around the world, because he's such, he plays them with such a kind of gregarious energy. I mean, let me ask you this: why is Stephen McCole not as successful as the likes of James McAvoy, for example, or Ewan McGregor, or one of these guys?
I couldn't tell you, mate. I genuinely couldn't tell you, because I know McCole's quite high up on our Swally tab, and I'd say every single thing we've covered him in, he's been outstanding. I think like back to The Wee Man, for example, which isn't the best film. He is just the best thing in it, because he's just got so much, I guess he's like Gavin on cocaine with money.
And no morals.
But he can turn his hand to anything. I mean, what was it? What is he? Is it Ned's? He's in.
The teacher. I was just about to say. I mean, I know he's not in the film that much, but it's one of my favourite performances of his. as the teacher, because he's clearly drawing on his own experiences of being at school. It's phenomenal. Like that, the whole sequence with him and the young, I can't remember the lead character's name in Ned's now, but the sort of young version of him, if you like, it's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I would just love to see. I'd love to see Stephen McCole on more. Like doing like higher profile stuff and sort of getting his shot.
I mean, I think he's done quite a few things quite recently. I know he was in, I don't know if you watched the submarine thing, Vigil, and
no, not yet.
I know he's been in Shetland recently, and he's in a couple of episodes of Mayflies, which we maybe need to cover at some point on the Culture Swally. And he has been, of course. I mean, I'm forgetting, like Barney Thompson. He's fucking brilliant in Barney Thompson amazing
as well.
Yeah,
he's great in it.
And you forget he's in Orphans, he's in The Crow Road, he's in Complicity.
Young Person's Guide.
Exactly, yeah. Big Willie, the drummer. Big staunch. He's definitely a Billy boy. Absolutely. And I know, as I say, we're kind of biased because we're big fans of him, and I know he does speak to us occasionally on Instagram and stuff. But I agree, he's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
And he just brings something to every role. And it's like I say, every role he does is different. And it's he's almost not a chameleon, but you know what I mean? Like, if you think about just those few roles that we've mentioned there, every single one is completely different. It's not a case of, it's Stephen McCole playing Stephen McCole in this. He's almost, something, dare I say this, but he's almost a young Alex Norton. Like, because Norton kind of has that chameleon kind of aspect as well. If you think of all the things we've covered that he's in, Steve McCole is effectively like a young Alex Norton.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder, we've used the phrase before, and not being professional sort of reviewers or actors ourselves, I sort of hesitate to use it again, but I wonder if he's a bit of an actor's actor. Because I know that Peter Mullan obviously likes to work with him. He gave him a prominent role in his directorial debut, Orphans, that you mentioned before. He's in Ned's. You know what I mean? I just wonder if that's so. And I know he did a bit of a spell in River City as well, but he only did it for a year, and then he's since gone on to do stuff like you mentioned before, the Martin Compston submarine thing, Vigil, and stuff like that. So even though he's done that year in River City, he's not let what happens to some soap actors. They sort of get a bit trapped. You could say that. You could maybe say that about Ian from Small Faces. Ian McDonald, is it?
Robertson.
He's sort of in River City, and he's not really done anything since. He's done he does a kind of a walking show where he does these like famous walks in Scotland, and people go along with him and stuff. But as far as his acting goes, he seems sort of boxed in the soap, whereas Stephen McCole hasn't allowed that to happen to him. He's gone on and done a lot of quite interesting work since he was in River City.
I think it's difficult because you're saying, for example, Ian Robertson, and I'm not for one instance saying this is what he's decided, but as an actor, it must be difficult in terms of having to go for all these auditions. And
sure,
effectively, you get a role, great, but then you're not knowing where your next role is coming from.
Yeah.
And you could go a year without having work. When you've got a gig in like a soap, like River City, you've got a regular paycheck. He probably, stays at home with his family, probably works 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, for filming, gets his weekends off. Happy days. He doesn't have to go on location for 3 months to do a film and stuff. Like, it's a regular gig, it's a regular wage, and, I'm sure they're not getting paid peanuts. So
no, for sure.
You kind of have to think, fuck it, I'll just happy enough doing that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then the other actor who is part of the gang here, who I've not really seen him in a lot of stuff, is Kieran. Is it Kieran Hodge who plays? Hang on, let me get. Kieran Kelly, who plays Alan. He plays Alan, the other member of the gang. He's good. He's been he's kind of plugging away over the years since he did this film. But his little speech to Rab Affleck at the Travellers camp, which I thought was hilarious, when they turn up and they got the big traveller sitting on the stone, you know what I mean, next to the fire. But his little speech to him and stuff, I thought it was good. I mean, it's nicely written, but he performs it really well. Where he's been a bit of a reactive character through most of the film, and then apart from the bit in the railway station when he suggests, after Kay gets sick, and he suggests going home to think again. Like when he sits down and he sort of gives this really quite emotional and powerful little speech about what it means to be what it means to be Scottish, what it means to have your way of life not treated with the respect that it should be treated with, etc. I thought, well, fair play, because up until then he was a bit of a third wheel, I thought,
Yeah, but he just comes to the fore at that point, and as you say, you're just like, where's this come from, Alan? And it's almost like he's only been brought along because he's got a car and because Gavin's roped him into it. But on the whole journey and the whole way of this, he's kind of adopted this swell of nationalism and this absolute fire burning in him. And that speech he delivers to Rab Affleck is just beautiful. And just the comic timing of the last line when he's like, and it's sitting under your arse. It's just... It's beautiful the way it's delivered. It's just so funny. You can't help burst out laughing as much as Big Rab bursts out laughing.
Our people, the Scots, have died for freedom over and over for centuries, and we would again too gladly. But for us to continue our fight, we need a symbol to unite our people. We've not done anything wrong, although what we have done is illegal. But we've done the only thing we could. We need that symbol of freedom so that the flame that burns in here can never be extinguished.
This symbol of yours, what is it?
It's under your arse.
And I was under bars.
I've got to be honest, I didn't recognise Rab straight away without his sort of trademark facial hair,
Yeah, it took me a second as well to realise that it was actually Rab Affleck. So I was like, Jesus Christ, big famous Rab in there. But yeah, I mean, Alan, he's a great character. He's just kind of along for the ride. But it's, he does come out of his shell there, I think.
Yep.
And of course, you have two kind of heavyweight actors. I mean, you have a fucking Academy Award winner in this film in terms of Brenda Fricker, basically relegated to playing Bobby Carlyle's housekeeper. She's effectively the Mrs. Doyle of this film. She's only got a couple of scenes, but I mean, I didn't recognise her either to begin with at the start because she's changed quite a lot. I mean, I remember you used to watch her on Casualty, and then, of course, very famously she's in, My Left Foot, and then, of course, Home Alone 2 is probably what, let's face it, most people know her from. But she's serving as Robert Carlyle's housekeeper, and Bobby Carlyle playing a great role in this. He's only in a few scenes, but he's a very impassioned, kind of strong Scottish independent guy as John McCormick, who... obviously, famously a real person. But I think his few scenes, he's great. And again, he does have kind of the comedic timing and aspect when Ian is asking for the 50 to go and do the heist. And he's thinking he's asking for £50,000. And he's like, well, what are you going to spend it on? He's like, oh, petrol, fish and chips, 50,000 on fish. No, £50. It's...
it's a good scene. It's a really good scene. I mean, I think, you were saying about Stephen McCole earlier on, and, I think Robert Carlyle, when it comes to, when you think of like the sort of extreme characters he's played over the years, we just had him a few months ago in Looking After Jojo. Obviously, I think the role he'll always be remembered for, in Scotland at least, is Begbie in Trainspotting and T2 and stuff like and his early roles were sort of quite extreme characters and stuff. And in this, he's not a very, physically speaking, he's not a very big guy, Robert Carlyle. But in this, he's the rector of the university. He's Scottish through and through, like a stick of Rossi Rock, right? But he I don't know if he ever went to university. I don't think Robert Carlyle went to university, but he plays this sort of institutional role and character absolutely fantastically, as well as having that, like a character that could be quite a bit of a sort of stuffed shirt, as we would say in Scotland or whatever, but he maybe plays the character a bit like that, but he evokes this passion for home rule, for Scotland. And when they I love the scene when they meet in the countryside after the guys have kind of recollected the stone from Rab Affleck, and they're having like a wee dram and sort of toasting the success of the heist is great. You know what I mean? He's just, again, Robert Carlyle is just like almost everything that he's in. He's like a revelation almost in everything that you watch him in. He's just so surprising, the sort of choices that he makes as an actor and the things that he does. It's fucking absolutely phenomenal.
As you say, for him to be, and as you say, he'll always be kind of known as Begbie.
Yeah.
I think, especially in Scotland. I think even overseas, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, around about that time or just before then, he was, of course, Hamish Macbeth. And the very last 2 episodes of Hamish Macbeth of the entire series feature a storyline about the Stone of Destiny.
Oh, really?
So it's quite a nice little dovetail of Robert Carlyle there. But as you say, he can turn his hand to anything. We are probably more familiar with his extreme things, like as you've said, looking after Jojo, for example, and of course his turn in Cracker and playing the Bond villain. But then he can turn his hand to, obviously we know the Full Monty and stuff, but I would immediately think of Barney Thompson. Barney Thompson is a complete wet blanket, but Carlyle, it's so believable in that role. But how can it's a testament to the actor that he can play a wet blanket like Barney Thompson, being like this kind of bumbling idiot that's so shy and so nervous. And then a couple of years later, he can pop up again in T2 playing this absolute fucking psycho Begbie. And within the first scene that you see Begbie, when he's delivering that impassioned speech about writing letters to the Queen, and when his solicitor, did you just push that wee red button? You're totally in the, oh my God, this guy's a fucking psycho. He's just, as we've said on the T2 and Trainspotting episodes, we all know a Begbie, this wee guy who is just an absolute fucking nutter. But Carlyle is just it's just wonderful in terms of the way he can just play these different roles. And as you say, as this kind of rector of this university, but with this impassioned about independence and wanting Scotland to have its own government, he's just so believable in that role. And you really, he's so impassioned and just, plays it wonderfully.
Yeah, I mean, like in T2, like he's kind of physically changed as well, because for the part, because like Carlyle, I think like his facially, he's got sort of quite high cheekbones and almost a sort of heart-shaped face. You know what I mean? He's quite striking, but as the older Begbie, he's obviously put on a bit of weight. His face is a bit rounder. He's got the grey moustache, the grey hair. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't look like himself almost. It's like a sort of physical transformation to play the role. But yeah, I really enjoyed his scenes in this. I really did. And I wonder if maybe there's I don't know what his political leanings are, but I wonder if maybe there's a wee bit if he's got a wee bit of Scottish nationalism in his sort of political strata,
You would think you wouldn't take on that role if you weren't that way inclined, surely.
Maybe.
I know it's a paying gig, but you're going to be associated with it, so I don't think you would if you.
Yeah, maybe not. So the story of the heist has actually been, and I had to look for it, but I couldn't find it on YouTube, but it's actually been made into a TV film before called The Pinch. The BBC made it in 1980. I had a wee look on YouTube, but I couldn't seem to find it. I don't know. There's no like Wikipedia or anything about it, so I don't know who was in it or whatever. But BBC Scotland did make a dramatisation about the interrogation of Kay Matheson when she was interviewed about her part by the police about the stone being stolen. It's all in Gaelic. Again, I couldn't seem to find it, but if anybody knows where maybe it will watch it, then let us know and we'll put it on the socials.
Talking of accents as well, the other Swally stalwart that we've missed out and we haven't spoken about is, of course, the security guard at Westminster Abbey, which is Ron Donaghy doing a Cockney accent.
Yeah, not a great Cockney accent, Ron,
no.
I'll be honest.
It's not the best. But anyway, he kind of rumbles Ian, obviously, the first night, but then they go back and steal the stone. And it's very easy the way they steal the stone. And they manage to get it kind of back over to the border, although albeit in 2 parts. So quite a successful heist at the end of the day, but then of course the film kind of ends effectively with them taking it to Arbroath Abbey and then the police sirens in the background. But of course that didn't happen.
No.
They didn't get arrested then. They delivered it to Arbroath Abbey, but it was later on that they actually got arrested. Was it because of Billy Boyd's Polaroid camera? Because he showed the police a photograph of him and Ian at Christmas, but it was from the previous year. Did the police really believe that he had got that photo developed so quickly? Because I don't think Boots the Chemist were open at that time, but certainly wouldn't have got it back within a day. And of course, there were no Polaroid cameras. So how did they think he had a dark room in his basement that he got it, developed so soon?
Who knows? I mean, as far as a plot device goes, I suppose it's a reasonable one. Maybe there was a film developing room in the university that he had access to or something, just to give him a charitable assumption. I have no idea. But Billy Boyd's another interesting Scottish actor in the sense that, the Lord of the Rings films, despite what you or I might think of them, were massively successful. And he plays, well, maybe not obvious, I don't know if you've ever watched them. I've watched them. But he plays a pivotal...
I've seen the first 45 minutes of the first one twice.
Right, okay. So
because I fell asleep at the same point both times, and I've never watched anything else of it.
Well, his role is an important role. He's one of the main characters, but he never seems to have replicated that success. I mean, I've seen Billy Boyd around Glasgow a couple of times when I used to live there. I saw him at where the ski slope is in Braehead in Glasgow once with his kids. He seems like a lovely guy. But I mean, I thought, in this film, his character sort of starts off and you think, oh, he's going to be an important part of the story, and then he's kind of not really. He backs out for academic reasons. He's worried about throwing away his career and everything. And then he helps out a wee bit after the stone has been stolen. He hears it on the radio. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we needed Billy Boyd to play that part, to be honest.
I mean, fair play. It's easy to have a go at Bill being like, oh, you're chickening out now. But, he's got a fair point. It's around about Christmas. He's just about to get married. He doesn't want to be taking part in that. As he says, we could be looking at some serious prison time for this. Effectively, it's treason, really, that they're committing. I mean, of course, as we find out at the end, although they were all arrested, they were never prosecuted. But I don't know, I'm kind of on Bill's side here. Like, I'd be kind of like, you know what? Like, it's all fun and games planning this kind of thing, but actually doing it, like, nah. Like, I'm just about to finish my second degree. I'm getting married. We're just buying a house. It's Christmas. I can't be arsed going all the way down to London just to fucking retrieve a stone.
Shite bag. No, I'm making fun of you, but I would probably be exactly the same side.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble with the police. So. The other thing in this movie is that there are some spectacular locations used. You mentioned the ruined Abbey of Arbroath for the final scene in the film. Amazing countryside there. Famously, the Harry Potter fans will be familiar with the Glen Finnan Viaduct in Fort William.
So 105 miles north of Glasgow. So when he was taking the train down to London, why was he going up to Fort William to go back down?
Well, I guess they're just trying to create a sense of time and the sense of the era with the steam train and everything else. But it's a lot of great shots, a lot of great filming inside Glasgow University, which is a lovely old campus, and around the sort of west end of Glasgow and stuff. Really, and obviously London itself, there's some parts of London which are spectacular to look at and always look good on film. I think the director does a good job of really sort of amplifying all these locations. Really good.
I mean, I think it's hard not to watch this film and feel like a massive swell of patriotic Scotland and just feel like, oh, I'm so fucking proud to be Scottish and seeing this. And I know it's, but again, this happened, this is more true to fact than, Braveheart or Rob Roy, for example. But it's hard not to watch this and just feel so proud and just to have that kind of your chest swelling and being like, oh, good on you boys, come on, for Scotland. It's beautiful.
Well, there's an interesting element about the heist which they don't show in the film. They do show the part when they're taking the stone out of the chair and it breaks off. So, and they also show when before they return it to the Abbey, they get it repaired by a stonemason. So the stonemason was actually a guy called Robert Gray. And he placed a metal rod in the stone before he repaired it with a bit of paper attached to it with a message on it. But nobody knows to this day what was written down on the bit of paper that he put in there, which I thought was quite cool. And I thought, well, that feels like quite a good dramatic thing to put into the plot. But for whatever reason, they decided not to do it.
Yeah.
But I mentioned earlier on how Ian Hamilton, the real guy, was a bit of an antagonist, and I found out a couple of things about him which I thought were quite interesting, and somehow very Scottish. So apart from his stealing of the Stone of Destiny, I mean, famously, none of the four who were involved were ever prosecuted. But he went on to complete his studies, and he became a young advocate in 1953. But he refused to swear allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II, and his argument was that in Scotland she could only be referred to as Queen Elizabeth with no number, because when Queen Elizabeth I was the Queen, Scotland was independent from England. So Elizabeth I had never ruled over Scotland, which meant that we couldn't have a Queen Elizabeth II, which I thought was quite good. And unfortunately, he only passed away last year. October last year he passed away. But as recently as 2009, he almost sued the Royal Bank of Scotland over claims that they had missold shares to him in 2008, but he ended up dropping the case because the Small Claims Court refused to deal with it. But he famously, well, I don't know if it's that famous, he was also the rector of Aberdeen University from 1994 to 1996. He was the SNP's choice for rector of Glasgow University, but he lost out in the election. You won't believe this. He lost out in the election to Ross Kemp. So, which, if he was anything like what I assume he was like, would have really fucking pissed him off losing out to Grant Mitchell. So he was never the rector of Glasgow University. He does make a cameo in the film. He plays a sort of typical London businessman who passes by a scene with Charlie Cox and Kate Mara. But again, much like Gavin Vernon, he does sound like he was a real kind of character, Ian Hamilton, and I'm sure probably a very interesting guy to sit and have a chat to.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would love to have heard about this story firsthand, and what inspired him to actually do it. Because I know it's kind of covered in the film, but it is also a little bit just kind of whimsical. Of all right, we need to do something. There's not a lot background into their political leanings, really. It does seem that he's just kind of, all right, I'm going to do this, because I need to do something. And, as to say, Gavin just kind of comes along because he just, I guess, like, fancies a laugh and wants something to do. Alan just comes along because he's got a car.
Yeah.
Kay is she is, politically involved, as we know, because that's where Ian kind of meets her at the ball that John has kind of arranged. So she, and we see her at the beginning actually handing out flyers about, Scottish independence. So she is obviously quite politically motivated, but you don't really get a huge amount of backstory as to why it is they really want to do this. But could have done with a little bit more of that, maybe.
Well, she was also an interesting character, Kay Matheson. She's actually a Gaelic speaker. Came from Inverisdale near Lough Hugh and things, and she was sort of close. She after all this, she went off and became a teacher. She remained a political activist. She ran against Charles Kennedy, the Lib Dem leader, in an election in the 1980s. But she never ever got married. She went back to where she came from to teach after she graduated from Glasgow University. She passed away, sadly, although a good age, 84 years old. She passed away in 2013. But the picture on her Wikipedia, it's a black and white picture from 1981, and round her neck she has a necklace with the rampant lion of the Scottish flag on it. It's quite cool. But again, she sounds like she was quite an interesting person as well. Went on to do and sort of never Abigail Hamilton was never too far away from the cause of Scottish nationalism long after the famous heist.
Yeah, wonderful. An amazing woman by the sounds of things.
Yeah. So, any more points on the Stone of Destiny? Should we put it through our Swally Awards?
Yeah, why not? Let's put it through the awards. Okay, so what have we got first?
Okay, so the first award is the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. Quite a rich sort of scene to pick from here. I'm interested to know who you chose and if it's the same as what I've got written down.
I went with Rabba.
So did I.
I mean, the argument could be Peter Mullan or even Bobby Carlyle or Stephen McCole, actually. I think as soon as Rob Affleck popped up, I was like, well, it's obviously Rab. I don't know. Maybe you could have any of those four, I would say. I mean, McCole actually might be in with a better shout. Or Mullan. Yeah, one of those, but fuck it, let's go with Rab.
Yeah, I think Rab's career is longer at this point than Stephen McCole's was. He'd been acting since like the late 1970s in Scottish productions. So, okay, next one then, the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. So there's one or two to choose from here.
Yeah, there's two. So there's the pub, because it's the same pub they're in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's like three scenes you see, but it is the same pub.
Yeah.
And then there's the pub in London, obviously, they go to. I mean, yeah, it's obviously the pub in Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get a decent pint. You're not going to get that in a London pub in 1950. So, yeah, definitely the Scotland.
No, and it looked a nice enough pub as well. Yeah. Like, I'd be quite happy to go there, yeah.
It looked like the gang were all drinking pints of, like, McEwan's Export or 70 shilling or something like that, so...
Yeah, it did, It looked like it was like a McEwan's, kind of... export. So yeah, no, I'd be happy to go there, definitely.
Okay, so like the next three awards, I mean, I couldn't find anything for, so I'm interested to see what you went for. So there's the Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. So as you mentioned quite a few times there, it's a gentle film, it's a caper, there's no violence in it,
There's nothing at all. I mean, the stone being broken is the most violent thing, like, and it's an accident. There's nothing, there's no like evil playful hitting, there's nothing tease out about it. I mean, the harshest thing is Peter Mullan telling his son to speak up, please.
Yeah.
That's the most teasy thing you'll find in this film.
I mean, if you wanted to stretch, you could maybe say the bit when Gavin tries to pick up a second woman physically and they all fall down in the pub when they're celebrating the successful heist. But there's no aggravation in it. So
no.
And then if the next one then is the Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. Zero nudity in the film. It's all sort of cardigans and cuddles.
It's like, what would you like to watch this evening? Do you want to watch a film about sword and sandals or cardigans and cuddles?
Yeah. And then the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing. I mean, I didn't get any swearing. Did you? Did you spot it?
I caught one,
right?
And there is only one in the film because I've watched it twice as well, and I was very careful to watch. And it is when Gavin introduces Alan and he's like, he's got a car. I know him, and Ian says, "I don't give a shite if you know him."
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah,
that's the only swear word in this film.
Yeah.
So
okay, and then what did you have then for our second to last award, the archetypal Scottish moment?
I've got three.
Oh, wow.
Here,
okay.
And I kind of can't pick between the three. But what have you got? Anything?
I got two.
Okay.
So I've got Metropolitan Police's racism towards Scots. He calls Ian Jock and moves him on. And then I've got just it's a broad one, but just the swell of patriotism that sort of permeates through the film.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
What were your three?
I didn't have either of those.
Okay.
Two. So my three were probably in reverse order. Is the towards the end, once they know that the stone has been liberated and it's in the newspapers, you see a lot of people mounting the Duke of Wellington statue with their saltires. I also had the Alan telling the story about Robert the Bruce and the spider.
Yeah, good one.
Thought that was. But my first one was when Ian first meets Kay.
Right.
And they missed out the punchline of this, but they kind of got it when says, "Are you dancing? Are you asking?" But they didn't give it the follow-up with, I'm asking, well, I'm dancing. Yeah. But yeah, that was my 3. But yeah, I thought the Robert the Bruce spider story and mounting the statue was pretty good as well.
Yeah, it was good. All good ones there. And then lastly then, when you and I were having a bit of a chat on the group last week when we were talking about the film, you said, I don't think there'll be much debate about the Sean Connery Award. Also known as who won the film. I mean, I went for Stephen McCole just because the film just goes up about 3 gears after he comes into it, basically. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, it's Stephen McCole. I mean, take nothing away from Charlie Cox. No. I'm Kate Mara, but yeah, I completely agree. As I said earlier, the film just kind of seems to elevate when McCole comes in, and his character is just so full of life and so funny, and he's got some great lines, and just the enthusiasm, and his performance is fantastic. And for me, if I think about this film, I'll be thinking about him. Yeah, for sure. In this, he'll be kind of the first thought I would have. So, Steve McCole for me wins this film. Yeah, he's fantastic in it. So, do you think maybe the Scottish National Party have missed a bit of a trick by not insisting that a double bill of Braveheart and Stone of Destiny isn't played on like STV once a month at prime time? Yeah, I mean, I did see quite a bit of a backlash about the film, people saying that it's very anti-English, and I saw a couple of reviews saying that it's SNP-funded propaganda, but I'm like, but it's a fucking true story. Yeah. Like, this actually happened, and I know there's a little bit of artistic license in some of it, but not much, really. Like, it genuinely happened, and I don't see how it's not anti-English. There's only a few, in fact, they stole our fucking stone. We just went and stole it back. I mean, okay, yes, you could say the police are calling us jocks and stuff, but hey, the security guard's very friendly. Okay, he is played by a Scotsman, but he's very friendly, and it's I don't see it being anti-English. It's more pro-Scotland. I think during the film, I expected a bit of some criticism of England or the British government or whatever, and actually, if you watch the film, to your point, at no point is the acting British government of the time ever criticised. It's only about home rule for Scotland, but they don't criticise the British government. They don't criticise English people at all in the film, not at all. No, to your point, you could say, well, there's that little scene when Charlie Cox's character gets moved on and the policeman calls him jock, right? I'm sure it's not the worst thing anybody's ever called somebody, but I mean, the fucking dandy had the jocks and the Geordies running for about 40 years. But it's not, but at no point is anybody overtly criticised for being where they're from. You know what I mean? So no, of course not. Of course not. I wouldn't agree with those reviewers. I liked what you said at the beginning of the review. It does feel like it's quite a feel-good sort of Ealing comedy type film with a bit of a political message, you could say, but it's based on real people. It's based on actual events. In the same way that Braveheart was, and I don't remember anybody criticising Braveheart for being anti-English. And a lot of English people get cut to bits in Braveheart. You know what I mean? So, and crucially, the baddie in Braveheart, Edward I Longshanks, is portrayed as a fucking evil, villainous bastard through the whole film, with zero redeeming activity about his character. So yeah, reviewers are pricks. Well, I enjoyed the Stone of Destiny. It sounds like you did as well. Yeah. And I did. I really enjoyed it. It was my choice for this episode, which means it's your choice for the next one. So tell us what we're going to be watching before we record the next episode. Well, I'd like to take us from the 1950s to
the 1990s on the next episode, Craig. So I'd like to look at the first series of a Scottish legal drama that aired on ITV in 1991. So it only ran for 2 series, but I'd like to look at the very first series. And it's only 3 episodes long, and they are all available on YouTube if our listeners want to watch it. So starring Ewan Stewart in the lead role, and in one of her first roles, a very young Shirley Henderson. I'd like to look at The Advocates.
Excellent. I remember that being on, but I was probably a little bit young for it to pique my interest, you know. I loved it. We should mention that we're both blown away this week when we found out that Ewan Stewart was the son of Lucky White Heather Club legend Andy Stewart.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to cover that in the next episode, but yes, I was, I'd already kind of picked this, so I have watched the first couple of episodes, and I was researching, I was just having a look at Ewan Stewart, and I read this interview, and it was like, the son of Andy Stewart. I was like, that can't be right. No way. And then I instantly text you. I was like, I think I have to retire from the podcast because I did not know that Ewan Stewart was the son of Andy Stewart. Yeah. And I was so relieved, and you were like, yeah, I didn't know that either. I'm like, I cannot believe, how did that pass us by? How many, Ewan Stewart's been, he must be near the top, like, kind of, you know, he's just bubbling under that Swally tally. Yeah. Like, we've covered him in so many things, and I've just never realised that he was the son of Andy Stewart.
Me neither. So...
Donald, far's your trousers. Jesus. Honestly, never mind. Okay, well, yes, so The Advocates is available on YouTube if any of our listeners want to watch it for the next episode.
Son of Destiny is also available on YouTube as well for anybody who wants to watch it, because that's where I watched it.
It is indeed, yes. So I will put a link in the podcast description if you haven't watched it or if you would like to watch it. It's a bit late now because you've listened to the episode, but yeah, go back and watch it. I mean, it's history. We haven't spoiled anything.
Exactly.
So you can go back and watch it. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you would like to get in touch with us, you can email us on cultureswally@gmail.com with any news stories you've seen that you'd like to tell us about. If you bought a steak from Morrisons that was some down some Jakey's trousers, then please let us know and how it tasted. Or if you've got anything you'd like us to review, or if you just want to get in touch and say hello, then please drop us a line. And you can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta @CultureSwallyPod, and we're on Twitter @SwallyPod. And we also have a beautiful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do. It's a somewhat neglected website because I've been quite busy over the last few weeks. But you can find us at cultureswally.com. You can find links to all the episodes. You can find a couple of essays about Scottish horror films and Scottish television. So come along and check it out and let us know what you think.
Wonderful. Right. Well, I hope you're off to go and research who's a boy and who's a Billy boy.
I am.
I don't think I'll have another quiz on the next episode in terms of that, because I don't know if I can find any more out. But if I do, I'll let you know. Maybe I'll just do a random one every episode.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Greg. Until next time.
I
don't understand. What has this got to do with you? You did it.
Ian, have you any idea the trouble you've gotten yourself into? Speak up.
Aye, Dad. I do.
I'm so proud of you, son. I am so very proud of you.
Oh.